Welcome back to Rock for a Pillow. Like, share, follow. This is Derek. I am so happy to be here back at the mic to have another great conversation with you. Today, we have a special surprise. We have a guest on the podcast. It is Joshua Nyla. Josh, how do you feel?
I feel good. Good to be here.
Okay, awesome. So today we're going to be talking about why wise men don't speak. It's this conundrum that I found in my life that continues to happen in situations where you really need wisdom, you really need guidance, you really need somebody to help you out. There's no one there to just give you a word of wisdom. It's not like you're running away from it. You actually want it. You want somebody to tell you what to do, somebody to help you out, somebody to guide you on your path. But for some reason, it just can't be found. So today as well, the rest of the podcasters felt that this podcast would be better for me to lead, to take the lead on. And so it'll be me and Josh, and we're gonna get started. So Josh, why do you feel like wise men don't speak?
When you first asked me that question, it made me think about how you will gain wisdom over time, but I realized that just going over rehearsing and just preparing for this, I realized that isn't the answer to the question. The question why wise men don't speak, I think it stems from the fact of how you gain wisdom in the first place. And the scriptures, speak on it in various ways, but one of the ways they do speak on it is that wisdom is gained through, really not talking, really just observing the situation and just taking it in, taking in all aspects of that, which is definitely best gained through silence and through reflection and meditation and just going over these different things, which you do observe in your own thought process, especially with the Most High. So in doing that, you almost create a pattern of just silence. You almost create a pattern of reflection. You almost create a pattern of insight. So you that person, obviously that pattern continues to reflect itself within your personality, and as you interact with the rest of the world, you may find yourself in that space where you don't necessarily react to everything, you don't necessarily speak on everything, you don't necessarily feel the need to teach. Mm-hmm. Your natural reaction is just to take it in. At least for me, myself speaking, I just take it in, and I realize humbly, I don't know everything. And the wisdom that I've gained over time, I don't know everything. So it's like, do I know enough to say something in this moment? Is my judgment the correct judgment? Is my voice the voice that should be heard, so to speak?
Very true.
So I find myself questioning that a lot. A lot of people say that, once you gain a certain level of wisdom, you realize that you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And if you're at that space, then I feel like the natural reaction is just to absorb, to gain more wisdom, to gain more knowledge so that you do know more, at least know the most that you can in that situation. And definitely feel free to chime in wherever. Oh, no,
I definitely hear you because, I think, I just think about there was this one guy when I was in school, and he was like, oh, no, Derek, you're a great guy, I care about you, I'm your mentor. Mm-hmm. I think one thing along this journey of life, there's a lot of people, if they see something good in you, they want to be your quote-unquote mentor. But what are they really giving you? Nothing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? They give you what they have, but they're not willing to sit down with you to see what you need. Mm-hmm. It's a very limited relationship, you can't have, people talk about having mentors for different things because, it's limited, it's very limited. So it was crazy. He was like, I needed some money at this time. And he was a person that was over, scholarships and whatnot. And, there were other people that would come to him and he'd be like this, oh, they just keep on asking me for money. And he would give them the money out. And I'm thinking dang, I really do need some assistance, but I don't want to be labeled as badly as you label these people. Right. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to come here, sit in your office, have these conversations, but I get this terrible label. And not get this terrible label. So it's like this, well, who do you reach out to? Of course there were some people that reached out, but who's going to be willing to step inside of your life and say, I care enough? You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like I think about, and it's like, because I've definitely had time to meditate on this before this for this convo. It's like I think about King Solomon, and I think about other wise men like Ahithophel and inside of the good book, and there's not that many of them. It's very, very rare. It's like this. There's a lot of people, and I even in my pursuit of like, will somebody help me? Will somebody, like I even had an econ teacher one time. He stood up. He was like this: you shouldn't be in school because it doesn't pay out. What career are you doing? Does it pay out enough to pay for the debt that you're getting? He says that big statement, but he don't back it up by saying what should be done. It's like you're gonna say this big statement, but you ain't gonna help nobody with uncovering this truth, because not only are you saying something against what we've been brought up to believe, you're saying something against everything that everything my parents have taught me, the most dearest people. But I'm in school. I'm willing to learn.
Right.
I'm willing to reconsider. But you're dropping a bomb on me, and I'm already unsure about school, and you're not willing to expand on it. You're not willing to walk with me through. It's like, I think, so it's like this. So I think, it's like I believe that you can have, it's like, as naive as this might sound, like I believe that, the Father's wisdom speaks throughout all the earth. Right? So if the Father's wisdom speaks throughout all the earth, that means that some people might have a hold of it and not even know that it comes from the Father, but it's still good. So why can't they give me the advantage of having their wisdom? They don't have to fully know the Father. Yeah. But that for some reason has not worked. It's like only
doesn't play out that way.
Doesn't play out that way. If the only people that are going to truly step in and reach into your life are the ones who are Job. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like otherwise like they love the Father. It's like only that type of heart is willing to wanna come in, and I'm going to do something like that. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise it just doesn't pan.
So in my experience, and touching on a lot of what you said, in my experience, I've been in the same boat. I felt the lack of wisdom coming at me, and definitely a stronger desire to get the truth. Yeah. And have it. People tell me, and I realized that I don't know if it's cliche, but it's kind of cliche that we're all human beings. Yeah. And everyone's dealing with their own personality battles. They're dealing with the battles of their own ego and psychological ego. And they're dealing with the barriers that come up with that, the obstacles, whether they're shy, they're not shy, they're introvert, they're extrovert, they're teachers, they're not teachers, they're learned, they're not learned, and they're dealing with the balance of all that. So I realized, and I almost had to come to a place where I was compassionate enough to forgive them and realize like maybe they just, for whatever reason, didn't feel like it or couldn't, for whatever thing was holding them back. Yeah. And not able to share that wisdom. Like a lot of times, even with dealing with my own children, like, am I tired? And is it the end of the day? Like, did I just work, 12 hours? Yeah. Am I in the mood? Am I feeling good? Have I got some time to myself? Am I prepared for such a lesson? Did I learn it myself? Yeah. And I as a person, it benefits me to just like give it to the people the benefit of the doubt. Like, okay, maybe they just didn't have it that moment, and keep it moving, or they just weren't capable. And that's why I say, like, just wise people probably are wise and probably may have created a pattern of not speaking that wisdom through the pattern of getting wisdom in the first place. And in addition to, there's a layer that, maybe they just weren't at their, there wasn't a connect in that exact moment. Yeah. They weren't on the same frequency, weren't on the same harmony, weren't on the same energy. Yeah. And then, in addition to that, the scriptures, do task us, and I really hold a lot of people close to me to the fire on this one. That scripture says, ask, you shall receive, knock, and seek. And I don't want to butcher it, so I don't, Go for it. I don't want to quote it, but I don't have it memorized. But there's a huge part on us as the individual to ask. And maybe we don't know all that questions to ask. Maybe
exactly. Like, how do you even, ask. Like, it comes to wisdom, like, how do I even know the question to ask? Yeah. But
in addition to, keep asking, like keep knocking, keep seeking, because it's that effort that's going to tease out the questions that we need to ask. It's gonna bring out the blemishes that need to get addressed, or inspire someone to be like, they'll be answering your question, but then throw some extra information your way, and you be like, oh, great. And then humility on top of that, like, don't we shouldn't be afraid to ask. Man, well, is there, I'm wise enough to know I don't know all the right questions. Is there anything I should be aware of from your perspective,
Yeah. And then I'll say, on addition to that, ask, seek, and knock, right? Is the fact that that's a biblical perspective, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll say one thing, even though, like, growing up, I loved the Father as much as I knew. You know what I'm saying? I think I wanted to read the Bible since I was like 10 years old, but my dad made it boring. I asked my youth minister, and he said, I'll give you a reading plan, but I needed somebody to sit with me because I wasn't like that big of a reader. Like, I needed like, you know what I'm saying, or not. But it got to a point where I got so miserable enough I read it for myself. But the thing was, I think if I had read the word and I heard the words of Elihu, and when he says that the Father speaks in one way and then another, sometimes in a dream, and understood the idea that the Father speaks to you, like, I read the book, what is it called? It's the one I think Will Smith suggested about almonds, like good almonds. Like, it's a book about a guy who wants to find gold, but he goes out, and it's about, a lot of people suggest the book, and it's written by a biblical dude, like a guy who's very, very influenced by the Bible anyway. But Pablo Coelho, I forgot the name of the book, but Pablo Coelho something, and the idea was that when I look back, though, even though I wanted more guidance and I wanted more like this and that, people said things to me, but I didn't know. I wanted somebody to sit there with me and say, like, yo, let's work this out. Let's see what the consequence. Let me see the good and the bad. Mm-hmm. But there were people that reached out and said, no, you should do this. But they weren't in my fear. They were right there, and they're just like, no, this is a route. But I just didn't have enough oomph to go off on it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like everybody loved love. So it's like one day I was working at a restaurant and I was serving right, and it was, I don't know, it was the best day of my life. I don't even know why. It was the best day of my life. Nothing special happened. The best day of my life, and there was like, it was going so good, like everything. It was like nothing felt, it was just great. And I met this one, I was serving, and this one girl gave me a smile. She was from Philadelphia. I lived in D.C. at the time. And it was like, that I'm talking about, those looks that you get. But the other one was a professor, and he was like this, no, you should do supply chain management. You know what I'm saying? No, Derek, I'll get you what you want. You know what I'm saying? It's like this. I didn't know enough to say, let's go for it. I'm so scared. If I had read the book, and it had calmed my heart and my spirit to look for when the Father speaks. Now I'm so much more up to when somebody says something to me randomly. Like, I was just over at my mom's apartment, and the guy downstairs said, he sat down with me, and he told me that he was I was downstairs at my dad's apartment, and my mom's apartment, and there was a guy who pulled me to the side. I talked to this older man I talk to sometimes, and he said to me, what did he say? The older man said to me, told me that he's from down south, he's from Alabama, and he said, I know how to live off the land. Listen to me now. I know how to live off the land. I can cut anything, I can grow anything, got a beautiful garden. Listen to me, son. I know how to live off the land. I just normally say hi to this guy. For him to pull me aside and to say something to me, what that tells me is the Father wants me at this time to, I need to really learn how to live off the land. You know what I'm saying? That's the Father, like looking at wisdom, like how people do speak it that have it, but they won't speak it enough to grab you by their,
Yeah.
They do with the wisdom it means.
Yeah. And I think it is a real critical characteristic to be able, like you're saying, be able to pull wisdom from anything. Like you said, the Father speaks throughout the world.
Yeah.
You said, it's a real critical aspect to be able to pull wisdom from anything, from any source. Yeah. Now, I jokingly tell him, but I'll jokingly tell my son, but I tell him seriously that you can gain wisdom from a dummy, like literally a dummy, like literally a dummy, like a mannequin, you know. But you can gain wisdom from anything, and you know, it's super important, like that one voice that. Like, it really depends on being in harmony and really being in sync and where you need to be and who are you listening to get that wisdom. Yeah. You know, because when we look towards external sources for our wisdom or, say, to get our attention or, you know, to have that pizzazz or just be perfectly in sync with us, and like you kind of letting the world control what you get, if that makes sense. When we can put a lot more control on our own growth and education by making sure we get that wisdom from everything. Like, I could be standing in an empty desert but still pulling wisdom out of it.
So what do you say to the person that wants wisdom and they don't know where to go? They don't know who to lean on.
You know, I mean, based on, you know, because I'm of the book, you know, so I believe trust the Father. You really got to sync up with the Most High. You got to sync up with self.
What does that look like? Syncing up.
Well, you got. I mean, you really. And I don't want to be like, I just read the Bible. Yeah, I don't want to throw that out there.
If that's your answer.
I mean, that really isn't my answer. Oh, okay. Not at this point in my life, because you really do got to know how the Father talks to you. Like, you really do got to know how God talks to you. It might be through the book, but at the same time, it could be through staring at wood, or it could be at looking at trees, or it could be through watching YouTube, or it could be through talking to your friends, or you're looking playing with your cat. The Most High can talk to you, you know, like he talked to a donkey. You know, it could be listening to the animal you ride, really, in that moment, or it could be like Yeshua said, you know, you stare at the weather and you know the storm coming, like, but you don't know X, Y, and Z. It could be looking at the weather. The Most High can touch your heart. The Holy Spirit, you know, can touch you however it needs to touch you. But you got to know as an individual, we are tasked, and I say the universal you, we are tasked with understanding how He speaks to us and trusting that the God of the universe has the ability to communicate to us effectively. Yes. And then through that, beyond that extension, using all the different things He puts around you to pull that wisdom out. Yeah. But you ain't gonna know nothing if you don't know where you're at.
Yeah. Because, I mean, just to be specific, it's Job 33, I think it starts at verse 8, when he says, you know, he speaks in one way and another, and then in visions of the night, and in dreams to communicate with man. But I agree with you, it's not just limited to dreams. Mm-hmm. It's limited to trees, the grass, your cat, you know, YouTube. The Father speaks to you, like, even the conversation we had in the past, like, there's these, it's like, the Father tells you to do something. Mm-hmm. Like praise. Mm-hmm. You know, the Father tells you to praise, and He shows you examples of people going into battle to praise. But because of our human nature, it takes other experiences to be convinced that this really is it. Like, you guys know I praise a lot, and you came out to me in praise, right? Yeah. And it's like. I realize, like, it's kind of like it's simply like you know, it's like obeying the commandments. When you do it, even when you, like, you know, like you ask, so I get up some morning at 6:30 a.m. with a group of people. Everybody's invited on the podcast that listens to go out to praise. And Josh, earlier before we started, said, "Are you still doing that?" It's like, yeah, I am. But I understand this true question in your voice. Like, man, that's a lot. Like, you know, you're getting up, you're going out there, da-da-da. But it's kind of like abstinence. It's like, I've done it. It's like, is this my sacrifice of praise? I've done it so much where I understand that. I get it. Like, I'm convinced now that we must praise. I'm convinced, like, it's not... I'm convinced to praise. I'm convinced, like, there's no other way. Like, this brings me life. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that the wisdom comes sometimes by doing something so many times that even like what the Father asks you to do, that, you know. And what is the heart of wisdom? Is that you obey His commands. You know what I'm saying? Right. And so His commands bring about wisdom. You know, the spirit of wisdom. And, you know, we're supposed to love her. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's one thing that was really, really clinging to me.
Yeah.
And another thing about that is like, and the thing that I really wanted was somebody to reach out. I reached out to other people, and I put myself mad vulnerable, like, you know what I'm saying, like in some people to really help them out. But what I realized in attempting to be a wise man, and going with the spitballs or whatnot, is that wisdom or the Father's word, it makes you change your whole reality. Changing somebody's whole reality, for somebody can reconsider their reality, that's a lot of pain, there's a lot of questioning, there's a lot of time, there's a lot of toil.
Crucifying the flesh.
Crucifying the flesh, crucifying the mind. I don't know if I can stay around with you that whole time. It's like I want to. You know what I'm saying? I tried it. I tried it, but it's not working unless you're a little child. Mm-hmm. But if you're not a little child and you're an adult, like, you know what I'm saying? If you're hitting like 15, 16, 17, it's gonna be a little bit harder unless you're really, really ready to reconsider. Because if you're not, just like the Book of Wisdom, I'm just gonna give you these dark sayings for you to figure it out, for you to search it out. Because as you search out these dark sayings and these wisdoms, you're slowly reconsidering your mind, because you can only be opened up to
slowly
what is needed for you to understand until you truly see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Slowly but surely.
Slowly but surely, you start opening up to what's really there for you to hear, and then seeing that there's another echelon of understanding.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what you said too touches on, we are in the fallen world, in the fallen state, so that a lot of times we do got to bump our heads and get that extra information before we realize what wisdom truly is. Mm-hmm. It was a quote, and I wanted to look it up beforehand. It's always stuck with me. I came across it in the military, and it says, by 3 methods we may learn wisdom. First, by reflection, which is noblest. Second, by imitation, which is easiest. And third, by experience, which is the bitterest. So,
no lies. Okay, keep going.
And just the author apparently was Confucius.
Really?
Yeah.
You read the book.
So, that third one is generally, I would say the majority of people learn through experience. And that's why I say it's the bitterest, because that's trial and error. That's bumping our head in the wall, or we're stumbling around a dark room and tripping over the table before we realize that, we should turn the light on or, try things a little better. And because we live in that fallen world, oftentimes that's the experience we're going to have, is where we got to, you got to learn. You learn that the pot's hot by touching it and realize you're burning your hand, And so, once we do get that level of wisdom, eventually, hopefully if you're smart, it'll sink in. Like, maybe there's so many other aspects of wisdom like this. Yeah. So let me just slow down and gain it all in through experience, or not experience, but through imitation, or like they said, through reflection. And that way you don't have to learn through burning your hand anymore. That way you don't have to learn through tripping over whatever, and you can get it easier. But it's that fallen nature that we got to get over first. Yeah. Which is beneficial, which is wisdom, but it's not the best wisdom, So
growing up, were you the type that wanted to knock your head?
I think.
Or did you want somebody to
I did both. I did both,
Man, I was trying to avoid, like, tell me. I don't need to tell me. Tell me so I don't gotta hurt myself. I don't really care. Just tell me. You know what I'm saying? So, but you,
I think we dig deep enough. There's probably areas that you bumped into.
Oh, I know what it was, and I to this day we got some. It's like, I think mine was honoring your parents. Like, I think that's where I bumped my head the most. It was like this. What does that mean? I know what people say it means, but I think it means something completely different than, like, until William Wang on the podcast gave is it Eastern or Western? Eastern understanding of honor your parents. I was just like, that makes way more sense than what I've heard in my life.
What was it? What do you mind?
He said that more so in an Eastern mindset of honoring your parents is when you leave your household, how do they see you? Are you a good representation of them? And also, I'm at that piece of, in their old age, take care of them. You know what I'm saying? that is honoring your parents. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you don't cuss them and stuff like that. Like treat them with honor. But it's like, but it doesn't mean listening to everything they say. It doesn't mean doing everything they say. It doesn't mean having their opinion as the highest opinion. That's not what honoring your parents means. It means, that when how the society looks at you, is and
good reflection on them.
Good reflection on them, and I vibe with that a lot. I think there's a little bit more that needs to be added to it, but I vibe with that a lot more than what our Western mindset goes of. You didn't do what I said. You don't honor me. You didn't give me what I wanted. You don't honor me. I'm like, what? I mean, I just disagree with you. Can I disagree? Can I live my life?
Yeah. When you say that, it reminds me of kind of like when Yeshua says, do this in my name.
You do this in my name?
Yeah.
And then he also says, you're gonna for those who forsake their mother and father because of me. How can you forsake your mother and father?
Right, and still honor them.
And still honor them. It has to have another level.
A balance to it.
It has to have a balance.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. So.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so I would definitely say just overall, like wisdom, there's so many ways, so many different layers to these things. Wisdom, to be wise would be to gain the greatest aspect of the topic.
Yeah.
The broadest, most generous idea, and to be able to, the forest, be able to see the forest for the trees, so to speak. So it's super key to realize all the different aspects, whether internal in terms of opening up oneself to wisdom, all of the wisdom that you can, realizing, what it is in the first place and then opening yourself up to it. And then, putting yourself around the teachers that you want,
Yeah. But it's like, how do you even find them? How do you even know that because like there's a lot of people who teach.
I know, right?
But is their fruit good, though? Is their fruit good, though? That fruit be spoiled. Fruit be like spreading laryngitis,
Once we gain a certain level, you can tell. You can tell who the good teachers are.
Yeah, you can definitely tell. And it's like I think now I feel like a call to action is like it's kind of like at least how I feel. It's like I feel that I am. Proverbs describes wisdom as a woman. Like the spirit of wisdom as a woman. And there's other books that agree with that as well. And I feel that I'm ready to be, wisdom says, sit at my table and eat of my food, make a covenant with me. I'm ready to have a covenant. I'm ready for wisdom through my mother. I'm ready to be in a relationship with wisdom. And I encourage, because I know there's other people that hopefully listen to this, and they'll be in that same place. Like I need some type of direction.
Yeah.
I need, and I think one thing to do is that also is like if you don't know the question, ask the question. Say I don't even know how to ask for what I need. And then some people will. Somebody's going to. I think if you even go to the people like this, how do I ask what I need? Sometimes actually, when I've been in distress, like we're trying to figure something out, I'll stop random people in the street because I know they're so unbiased. They have nothing to do. They have nothing to do with any of the conversation. Like
some true thing.
Give me something. Like you know what I'm saying? I need I want to hear what you think. Be willing to step out of your comfort zone. Because if you are looking to all the different guides of what you think will get you the answer, you're still not getting.
Yeah,
you gotta step. You gotta step
out the box,
out of the full box to get it. And it's time for you to become that wise person.
Right.
It's time for you to have an intimate relationship with wisdom. So there'll be more people that have lights. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like. If you're growing up as a kid and people see some of the things that you go through, right? Like my parents got divorced and whatnot, and people saw what was happening. I think some people might have been able to recognize it, but they can't even help you because a wise person knows that you're under your father's guide. You're going to have to go through pain for a while until you're in a like 16, 17. So then, or when you are an adult, whatever you claim that to be, 20 or whatever, when you're an adult or you're by yourself, you're on. So then the things that happen to you, you can question and then heal. But inside of your parents' household, I don't think a reasonable person is going to step in and disorder that, because if they do, then they're basically saying, I'm going to take you on as my children.
Yeah.
And if you take them on as your children, guess what? I mean, you can help them out. You can, but I think when I hear Job, he says, "Be a father to the fatherless." You know, I think some people are fatherless with having fathers.
Right.
I think some people are motherless with having mothers. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
agreed.
You know, it's like you can intervene. But you gotta. It's like I think wisdom makes you a healer of
self and others.
Of situations. You know, it's like if you want to heal this is the real Band-Aid. This is not. It's not what you're going after, and for a person to listen and to hear and to consider, it's a different,
different breed.
Different breed. But I think the time is coming where people are going to want to.
People need to.
They need to.
It's critical. Like you said, I think you were saying that what became real clear to me is that we as individuals, you have to take charge of your own wisdom and how you get it. You know, because the world, again, is the fallen state. We're in the fallen state, and we're a shortage of the level of wisdom that we should be getting.
Yeah.
There's a shortage of what you said on earlier made me think of the phrase, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
And that's really, it takes a group of wisdom from multiple people to even give one individual the amount of wisdom they need to grow up properly.
Yeah.
So in our world nowadays, that's just not the case, and it gets more degraded as different cultural effects happen, different racial effects happen, different economic effects happen, different household effects happen, such as divorce, such as single parenthood, such as children, X, Y, and Z. So the amount of wisdom we're getting is...
It's just lackluster. Because think about this.
Desert,
King Solomon, all of his wisdom, still had wise counsel.
Yeah.
So can I get... I would love, I don't know what a nuclear family is,
Me neither.
But I hope one day to see it achieved. I have two friends, if they ever listen to this, Annalise in Rome and Philip and Alpha. Oh man, those are the two couples, like, I know them intimately, like, back in the past, and I'm like, I was like, hope, I've seen it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, but with the nuclear family where you got the grandparents and everybody comes together and they focus the attention on your son, Alexander, and they sit down with him and say, Alexander, so where are you going? What do you want to do? And they all sit around and say, well, this is my suggestion. Well, I do like your suggestion, but we got to make sure we got him in the right way. To have a counsel of wisdom inside of your own family because people want the word, how refreshing would that be?
Right. That's the right way. That's where it should be.
It should be that way. I mean, it's the village raising, but a village, giving a direct effort to say, oh no, this is our time. Like, it could be on, I don't know if it could be on Shabbat, but it could be, on the first day of the week. And, just sitting down and saying, okay, well, what do you say? I want to hear you speak. Like, this is your, like, once a year, it's like, okay, now it's time for you to speak. Where are you going? Because now we need to understand. The whole family needs to understand what's your mind at. Because we know your father's doing everything he can, but what can we do to assist you to grow? When does that village come in? And I think one of the problems but it takes a wise person to do it. I think even in the podcast, I'm going to open this up to you. We had a conversation of accountability. You know what I'm saying? If people if you're not willing to speak up to the things that you see, then how can wisdom reign? You know what I'm saying? Wisdom always wins. I mean, the spirit of wisdom always wins because she'll forsake you, in your distress. But until we as a whole or practice accountability, okay, what's going on with your life? You got to lay it out on the table. What's going on? How are you thinking? What's your mindset? Where are you trying to go? I think Obadiah did a little bit of it with a few people, and Obadiah, the fellowship leader that we go to sometimes, he did it with like a few people on the podcast. Okay, so what's your mindset? Where are you going? But if the community did it, if that was the idea of how, instead of fruits of the flesh, fruits of the spirit, how can I support you? But it takes healthy people to do it.
Right. A right community.
Yeah, right community. And it's like, And I feel like the Father is turning people's hearts to get them there, but it's really hate time for that to come back. For people to walk in the ancient path and, just be mad supportive.
Yeah, I agree. Because that is the ideal. That is the ideal, and I say family, but I say it very generally. That is the ideal family.
Yeah.
Yeshua said, "Who was my mother? Who was my brother?" And it goes about who is on that level.
Yeah.
Who's on that level, literally.
Not that many people make that level.
Right. And that's why I say it's so important as an individual now to make sure we get that wisdom on our own by any means necessary. To quote Malcolm X, but by any means necessary, because it's a battle. It really is a battle. The world literally is against you or against us at that point. Again, I use the universal you. The world literally is against us. We are so fractured as a people, as a culture, as a nation, even in our own faiths. It's not as cohesive as it's supposed to be, as you spoke on. It's not really that whole family. It's super glad. Hallelujah, he put the Holy Spirit within us to teach us all things. You understand? Because if not, then man, this thing wouldn't go work out in the first place. Because we automatically on a even from the scientific perspective, we automatically on a path of I forget the technical term. I shouldn't even say that. But when all the energy spreads out and disperses itself evenly, you're automatically on that path. Just from scientifically speaking. But what we want is cohesiveness to actually create that pattern of righteousness where wisdom starts from birth. It should have been there from birth, but it's not. We fractured ourselves. So, again, with anything, get it individually, take yourself to the next level, because you have to. This is the battlefield. It really is. We're raising ourselves in many different ways, but not just touch in with the Holy Spirit and get the wisdom at all costs from everybody. Like, you can get to that level of wisdom. Speaking on some of the things you said directly, is like you can get to that level of wisdom where you walking down the street and just asking random people's questions. Not that they're teachers, or not that they're wise, because wisdomly speaking, that what they say can trigger something, trigger a revelation within.
Yes.
And that's all you needed was that kernel, and you wise enough to take it and run with it. You know what I mean? Or just broadcast it on Facebook, knowing somebody's gonna say something to at least pull you outside your box.
Yes.
And that's wise. That's extremely wise. And you at that level, we're at that level where we can gain the insight, gain the knowledge, gain the understanding, gain the wisdom on that level that quick. Which is a blessing amongst itself. And at the same time, the wisdom is also in bumping your knees on the table or walking around the dark room.
I don't like those though. Like, it is bitterness.
Right,
like,
it's bitter.
It's bitter, man. I don't like I was like this. So you telling me I gotta figure it out? I don't want to figure it out. Somebody already wrote out this whole formula. Why do I need to rewrite it? The wheel's already
That's right.
I don't get that.
Let me just find that formula real quick.
Somebody
tell me what's the formula.
Yeah, so
sometimes it takes a cry. Like as I said, the ask, seek, and knock scripture is always crucial for me.
Yeah, and even if we explore that to ask, seek, and knock, like, I would say this. I started my walk when I was like 10, 14, between that age. I forget now. I'm not even that old. But 10, 14, we took the vow of abstinence. But it was before that, actually, before the vow of abstinence. Yeah, when I read, the Father said, "Love your neighbor as yourself," is the SparkNotes version of the whole Bible. I was sold. And I seek, ask, and knock on that principle for 10 years to then bear fruit. What I see a lot happening in our modern day is that why wise men don't speak. Some people think that they're wise and they're really not. They learn something and just they like, oh, I read this and I understand it. It's like, well, have you meditated? Have you worked it out? Now this is when I think about wisdom. I think wisdom requires you to bump your head. In the sense of, it doesn't mean necessarily that you do something dumb, you know what I'm saying, or you really get hurt, but you got to see how it fits. You got to see how it makes you feel.
Carve it out.
You got to carve it out. You got to work with it. You can't just, I wish I had a. You can't just throw. You just can't. Just roll with it. You gotta carve it out. You gotta sand it down. You gotta make it. You gotta build your own square. You gotta make it smooth. You gotta make sure it works. You know what I'm saying? But what I see is a lot of people saying, "Oh, I read the word. Oh, I got this scripture. Oh, this is how you apply it. This is what it is." No. Take some time. Like give it. Like I like this. Give it a few years. Like Paul. Even though Paul, people like, "Oh, Paul, whatever." Paul, this was his life. He had already meditated on so many things. Once he had his thing, everything just clicked.
Mm-hmm.
In my personal interpretation, it's like it just clicked. But it's like for your life, there's scriptures that you meditate on, and it took you a while to get it. But once you got it, and you hear other people's revelation of it, you're like, huh, like that's it, like that's all you got. Like, oh, there's so much more. There's so much more to this, So we seek and ask and knock. That it could be in a minute, it could be in a month, it could be in a year, it could be in 10 years, it could be in your lifetime when you finally get it.
Mm-hmm.
But truthfully, what I add on to that is that getting it is not by your own fruition. It's by the Father allowing you to understand.
Right.
Yeah, the Spirit of wisdom coming inside of you, allowing you to understand. And that's I read something, and it was just like it was one of the apocryphal books, and it was just like this. Oh no, she allows it, and it's in Proverbs too, but she allows it.
Yeah.
Spirit of wisdom allows you to understand. But that's the Father allowing her to speak to you.
Yeah. Allowing the scales to come off the eyes.
Yeah, allowing the scales.
Open up the ears.
It's like
He can blind you to everything.
Yeah. Are you truly willing to love me? Are you truly willing?
Right. And that, it goes a lot in being in harmony, being in sync with that wisdom as it comes.
Yeah.
You can run the same race, or like I'll use a literal example. You can read the Bible many times, but only certain things pop out on you at the same time, or at that time. Only certain things resonate.
Yeah, because I remember I was reading Proverbs all the time, and then a situation happened, and I read it through Proverbs. I was like, "What? How did I miss this?" But I understood it. Yeah. I was like, "Whoa, this is real life, and never doing that again."
Right?
Wow, never hanging around that person again. That was dumb.
Right? Hallelujah for those moments too.
Hallelujah. As I'm in pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, in physical pain.
I mean, but that pain, like you said, what you said was gold too. It is that pain that really makes you know something. And that's wisdom. Like, really, you had to carve it out. I had to, like, if I was making a table, like, I know this table was super level because I had to take 3 different levels to it, and I had to buy them from Home Depot. I paid $24.99 for those levels. I spent my lunch money to save up for, like, 3 days to get this thing. Like, I know that table was solid. You feel me?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's wisdom. You know what I'm saying?
I'm ready to scream, but I'm going to keep calm for this podcast. Like, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like, you got to walk it out like that because,
good table, bro.
I had a conversation with some people. I had a conversation with some people, and they were just saying some nonsense. And I'm just like, huh? Like, it's like this. I know that even if I talk to you, you're not even really... And that's when I think why wise men don't speak at times.
Yeah, because you know that somebody ain't going to hear it.
It's like this. You ain't even going to hear it. It's not even worth my breath.
Even the scriptures say, avoid foolish and unlearned questions.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. So it's kind of like the wise man has... I think the wise of the wise, it comes to a point where you know so much that you don't speak.
Mm-hmm.
You said this earlier. You said you know so much where you sit back and you just look and you go, they'll have to get it.
They're on their own path.
They're on their own path. They're on their own path. Hopefully they'll understand. And it's very necessary because I can tell you everything and then you rebuke it, but the very thing that you need you don't want.
Yeah. Or not ready to receive.
Not ready to receive. You know what I'm saying? It's like the proverb says it's like it's crazy. How many times does it take you reading the word to realize that you need to obey the commandments? That's the root of wisdom. Like that literally is like I'm reading something else and I'm like it literally is just telling me the root of wisdom is to obey the commandments. It's like wow, it took me all of this to finally be convinced.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm convinced even more now. It's like. When people say, "Oh, you're doing too much," like, and I'm talking about doing too much more so with food and especially like it's looking at all the ingredients, making sure there's no pork inside of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm convinced that you just gotta cook your stuff or something. Like it doesn't even. And it's
cook
like
your own food, you mean?
Yeah, cook your own food. Like you can't. It's like man, like, but it's like that's such a longer leap. That's such a longer step. He has one requirement: obey. That's it.
Yeah.
Wisdom begins at obedience. Wisdom was, I might say it, was before the Messiah. You know what I'm saying? Because wisdom was before the foundations of the earth. She was one of the Father's first creations. You know what I'm saying? I think, it's a speculation, but I think wisdom was before because even the Messiah, the wisdom helped bring along the Word, and the Word is, so. So it's a very interesting, but that's, you can speculate and debate on that.
Yeah.
I won't participate, but I'll probably participate in that one. I'll just say my interjection, but I ain't gonna argue. It's like, this is what I thought. If you tell me I was wrong, okay, I accept it. It's like even me and Bremen, I'm just saying the scenarios, I think, but me and Bremen got a situation, and it was situation. I'm not going to be very ambiguous about this. There was a situation where I couldn't say anything to the people that I was around, but wisdom, hallelujah, allowed me to know that if I say something, I'll be hated.
Yeah, that's scripture too.
I just had to sit and let things dissolve. And then when it dissolved, it was like, this is what was revealed to me. Did you see it? Mm-hmm. And then they're able to see. But in the moment, it's like, oh, no. Because everybody's in a different place. But it's just like, this is what's here,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's so many different layers to just that wisdom aspect.
Yeah.
Especially when you factor in, the possibility of an active consciousness, the enemy, Satan, or whatever, moving against you.
Yeah.
Moving against us, and can I say the universal you, but moving against us, and then you throw in the idea of, is there one level of wisdom that's perfect? And then what is that? And are we tasked with learning all of that in one lifetime versus many lifetimes? It goes to different levels, and maybe I'm speaking too broad, but
I want to say I don't know.
I believe that we're not able to gain every bit of knowledge we can in this lifetime.
I don't think we can. I don't think we're designed to. Mm-hmm. I think it's like this: when you make a controller, do you make a controller to understand how it was made or to be used?
To be used.
We're made to operate in a function, not understand everything, but operate within it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that I would say that we have the same opportunity as King Solomon, a little bit under, but King Solomon had a little bit extra clause. He couldn't be touched. But if we do the commandment, and this is the crazy thing, I don't think it's fair to introduce certain things, it's just the Apocrypha I'm talking about. But it's like if we just obey the commandments, and this is what I'm convinced about, the commandments are wisdom. Because the thing is this, he can only give wisdom in a way, to a clean vessel. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not aligned with this truth, if you're not aligned with this heart, if you don't cry after the commandments, if you don't seek for him day and night, if you don't seek, knock, and ask, seek, ask, and knock, then why would he give you the greatest jewel that's since the beginning of creation? There's no reason to.
Yeah.
You're not worthy of it. You get just sprinkles, And it's like, I don't want no sprinkles. I want to sit at the table. I want to have a covenant with him. I want to eat.
Feast.
I want to feast. Like, dang. It's like, if we are wise, this is that thing. If I gain wisdom, then what else do I need? Because wisdom grants me access to everything.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And we had this whole discussion about wisdom. I don't know if we really clearly defined what wisdom was.
Oh, so what do you say wisdom is?
But you say you define it as actually keeping the commandments. Would that be accurate?
I say keeping the fear of Elohim is the beginning of wisdom. Is keeping the commandment. I think that's the beginning. Like wisdom is what grants you wisdom is doing that. But wisdom has so many other levels of knowledge and understanding. If you want to know the foundations of the earth and all that, that's wisdom. Yeah. Wisdom is coupled with knowledge in a way.
I don't know. When it comes to mind for me is the application of knowledge, the right application of knowledge.
Yeah, wisdom. Yeah. Wisdom. Yeah. It's like this. It's like this. I have this clause in my life. I say it very openly. I don't talk to, if somebody's in distress or whatnot, I don't talk to dudes who have sex, and I don't talk to women who have sex.
Outside of marriage or just period?
outside of marriage, and if they're in a marriage that's not supportive, I don't talk to them. If they're in a marriage that's supportive, I'll talk to them. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay.
Because what I learned from abstinence is that bond and viewing and how to walk out this thing is people who are connected like that, you can't talk to them. They're spiritually connected with somebody else that goes against what they know to be good for themselves. They're not going to break away until the pain is so deep that they break. You know what I'm saying? So the application of wisdom by obeying the commandment and viewing and looking and saying, well, what's going on? You know, you really get it, you know. You know, it's like you just realize that it's impossible. And then I read it's impossible. You know, and I read some other things today. I'm just like, man, that makes sense. You know, it just makes sense. And,
you know, I want to ask what you read. For another date, I guess.
For another day. All apocrypha. For another day. But it's just about wanting more wisdom. You know, I just feel on my spirit like not to engage. Like, it's kind of like this. Here's how I feel. The Father gives you things, and He wants you to not say it. He wants you just to hold on to it for a little bit so He can work on it in your heart before you expound upon it. Mm-hmm. If you expound upon things too early, it's kind of like a cake taken out of the oven before the batter's properly risen, and then you don't really get what you're supposed to be fed with. Mm-hmm. So I can truly feed the people around me that here.
Respect that.
Yeah. So, anything else on your heart, Josh?
I think we touched on a lot of great topics. It was definitely a very comprehensive dialogue about wisdom in many different aspects. You know, and it's one of those topics that, you know, just endless, right? By nature of what it is. You know?
Yeah, I think we really did top on a lot of subjects about it. You know, I think the cry of my heart is that for those that listen to this, it's like it's time for you to become wise. It's time for us all to become wise.
Right. And then unite as a community too.
As a community, because I mean, it's too much time has passed. You know, it's too much pain out there. There's too many people who are looking for Jobs and looking for people to be a bridger. You know, to be father to the fatherless, mother to the motherless, to help those who are without, to speak up for the widows. Like, you know, it's time for the wise to speak, because the wise do it in a way that is so clever, so effective. You know, like I was talking to somebody and say, "Oh, I want to change the community." I was like, "Well, you know, you need to get a business eventually. Like, if you really want to make an impactful change in the community, you have to start something that employs the community." You know what I'm saying? Or show them how, you know, in time. Because otherwise you're just going to be using money from other people, you know, to do certain things. You know.
I think there's multiple paths.
There's multiple paths, you know.
You know, you can change the community, not necessarily own the business.
Like what? Like give me some.
It depends on what you're attempting to change.
Well, they're trying to, I was talking to this group of people, and they were trying to help. They were trying to speak hope into a destitute community. You know, like a community that didn't have that many resources. It's like, okay, you know, you can go there. Everybody says that. You know, you can sit down with them. That would be great. The greatest thing if you just let them talk, you know, and you figure out how you can properly support them. But one thing is going to happen is if they don't, in communities where there's nowhere to gather, if you give them a place to gather, a place to reconcile, a place to get some rest, then you'll be able to talk to them so much more. You'll be able to talk to them so much more effectively. You know what I'm saying? They'll be like this, I know that these are true pillars versus people who are just propagating. You know what I'm saying? Because like at least when I went on like mission type trips, there's a lot of people who talk good game.
Yeah.
But are you going to back it up? You know, and backing it up is having a community somewhere, you know, that people know that they can depend on you. Like, you know, like if you're really trying to change, like that's about that reaching in and pulling people out. You know, Job owned like a ranch. You know, like you know, Job owned a lot. You know,
yeah, he did.
Owned a lot of stuff. You know, yeah. Who's Trump? All right, Job. Yeah, so for everybody listening, man, just the fact that you listened this far and listened this long, and you heard our words and you heard Josh's heart, heard my heart, and you care to listen to us. Thank you. And you know, the challenge is that you just grow more in wisdom, because as I and Josh, you agree, as you grow on the journey of becoming more wise, right? Is that we want you to be there along the journey. The world needs more wise people. The world needs more people that have a covenant with wisdom, that sit down with her and sit at her table and eat her food, and that those that obey the commandments. So join us.
Agreed.
Join us on that journey. Join us on that path as we all do our best to follow after the footsteps of the Messiah. We love you. This is Rock for a Pillow. Like, share, follow, and stay prayed up. All right, shalom, much love. And why do you think wise men don't speak? Much love.